Delighted to be joined by the main man himself, Frank Warren, ahead of Joe Joyce's big fight against Christian Hammer at Wembley Arena this Saturday. How you doing, Frank?
I'm doing well. What about yourself?
I'm good, mate. It's the first time I've talked to you.
Good. It's the first time I've talked to you too.
Yeah, I know.
So
Looking forward to it. Obviously, this fight is billed high stakes, and the stakes couldn't be higher for Joe. This is a fight that maybe wasn't the scheduled fight, but the fight that he needs to make sure he handles on Saturday night. So how do you think he does takes care of his business on Saturday night against Hammer?
Well, he's got to. I mean, he's in a pretty much of a unique situation. I can only think of one fighter in the past who's had such a limited amount of professional fights. He's only had 13. To get himself into a position where he's a mandatory challenger for the WBO and he's number 2 in the WBC. So with that limited amount of professional experience, he's in with a guy who's quite experienced. He's been in with the best. He goes the distance, or he's knocked people over. He's a tough guy, and he's coming off of a year out of the ring, broken wrist. So all those things are all problems, or were problems for him. He's got to get in there and make a statement. So I just want to come through the fight, do the business, come through it safely, and hopefully get himself into a position for some bigger fights.
And with Joe, like you said, he's had 13 professional fights, but I feel like the story of his career is everyone's trying to rush him along and trying to look to the next fight.
Why?
And the next fight. He's a baby in the game. I know that he's an Olympic medalist and he's achieved a lot in boxing already, but there's no looking beyond Christian Hammer, who, like you say, he's fought some really, really tough opponents on these shores. Usyk Fury, David Price, and obviously your man Tyson.
Knocked over David Price.
Exactly, in a fight that could have gone either way. Yeah. And also Tyson Fury, your man. Tyson holds a piece of the heavyweight title. I've got to ask you about him. How far is Joe Joyce away from a title shot, a world title shot?
Well, on the 20th of August, once they sort this situation out in Dubai, who's the winner, there's a few things that are going to happen. There's either going to be a unification if Tyson wants to go forward and doing that, or the various governing bodies are going to order mandatories of the titles, because they're all outstanding. And we got 2 guys in mandatory positions. We've got obviously Joe, as I mentioned, with the WBO, and we've got the WBA heavyweight champion, who's the mandatory to the super champion, is Daniel Dubois. So all roads lead to Queensbury, as far as if you're the winner of that fight, they're going to have to fight one of our guys one way or another.
And you say all roads lead to Queensbury. I feel like at the heavyweight division, the man at the top of the division is Tyson Fury. All roads lead to Tyson Fury.
Correct.
He's made it clear that he's retired. But there's a lot of doubters about that. What will tempt Tyson Fury out of retirement? Say AJ Usyk goes the way of Anthony Joshua. Will that be a big enough fight to tempt Tyson Fury to fight Anthony Joshua finally?
Look, if somebody's got the 3 belts and that fight's there to be made, then Tyson, if he feels he wants to challenge himself again, then he'll do it. But Tyson's his own man. He doesn't sing to anybody's tune. He does what he wants to do, and he's earned the right to it. I mean, he's the guy. He is again a true road warrior. I mean, he went to Germany and beat the best heavyweight of his generation in Klitschko. He went to the States and beat the hardest punching heavyweight in God knows how many years. 3 times. He got robbed the first time, knocked him out twice. How many fighters do that? And it's not even. And had his first ever defence here. And a fight that everybody felt, or a lot of people felt, was going to be a big problem for him. I mean, he didn't even break into a sweat.
That's it. With Tyson Fury, it's up to him what he does. No one knows what his next move's going to be, but hopefully as a boxing fan, we see him back in the ring because he is one of the biggest draws in the game.
Look, I'd hate him to retire now. I mean, I know, of course you would hate him because he makes some money. No, but I would hate him to retire for the simple reason being that he's at the peak. He may not even be at his peak, but if he is at his peak, now's the time to be fighting. I'd hate to come back saying 2-3 years' time, because by then, it don't matter who you are, you lose a bit. And at the moment, he's the man. He's the guy, by far.
By far, and I think it's clear to see. You're sick to the back teeth about talking about it, but Joseph Parker, we have to talk about it. He was the man that Joe Joyce was originally supposed to fight. That fight fell through for a number of reasons. It's coming from people that maybe don't have as much info and intel as you. Why did that fight fall through, and can we see Joseph Parker and Joe Joyce in the ring by the end of this year?
Right, Joe Parker. Why didn't it happen? Because Joe Parker had a contract which was drafted by his own lawyer, sitting in his manager's office, having agreed it. And I found out the day before he'd gone elsewhere, and he sent me I sent him a text saying, "Joe, I'm hearing this fight's not happening. So much for your handshake." And he sent me a text back saying it took a while for us to get the deal done. Done means it's done, not we haven't got it done, to get it done, and then went on to say, but I've had a better offer. So he didn't even come back, not that I would have stood for it, and say, look, you know what, Frank, you give me a tenner, these people are giving me 12 quid, do you want to give me 13 quid? He didn't want the fight, and they all thought they were all smart asses and doing what they're doing, and so he's out of the game. And in fact, he texted me yesterday again, asked him if he can, what can we do? And I just said, it's not a problem. Sign the contract that we all agreed, and you can do the fight. That's where we are. And it's on BT, because Joe's a BT fighter, and Queensbury are their promoters. And more importantly, our man is number one. He's the number one. Not you. You're a guy from New Zealand coming to the UK. Who gives a shit about the guy from New Zealand coming to the UK? We're in the British boxing business. That's where we are. Good fight, great fight. But, do me a favour. In the meantime, let them over at Sky and whoever they're working with over there, let them go and see what they're going to deliver this fella. I'm sure all the fans will be knocking down the doors for it.
Yeah, and as the fan of boxing myself, I can't wait, if we do get it, to see those two in the ring. I think it'll make for a fantastic fight.
Yeah, well, we tried to do it. I mean, I've got all the correspondence and everything. Anyone wants to look at it, they can look at it.
Okay, and finally, just a word on Jason Cunningham. What a story. What a story he's had. Like you described before, the Indian summer for him. He's on a 7-fight win streak. He's now at the point where he's on the brink of winning a world title if he sees Tete off. How do you think that fight goes for Jason?
Look, they're similar in ways. They're both road warriors. Tete, I love him. He's 2 times world champion. He came over here and he blasted out Paul Butler on my show, and then he came with us. He is... he's a tremendous fighter, and he's done it on the road. He's had nothing given to him. Everything he's done, he's had to fight. And it's the same with Jason. He's obviously not won a world title. He's not a 2-time world champion. What Jason has done, he was the away fighter, always in the other corner. He was the guy who'd come in. He was the opposition, and he's got himself into being, on the A side of the card now. True guts and grit, self-belief. Gone from nowhere to win the Commonwealth, the European. He's the IBF. What they call it, whatever, the international champion. He's done all these things. He's done them all, and it's just absolutely brilliant what he's done. This fight on Saturday is going to be, I think, a really good fight. 2 really proud, brave warriors, and the winner will get a shot at the world title.
One thing I'll say about Jason as well, he's giving you a run for the money in terms of the whistle. He looks very, very sharp and looks ready for the task.
Today, didn't he? He's been up to Moss Brothers.